What's up, guys? Marty here, and I am. So today, I'm going to be talking to you about everything that I carry with me on the trail for a first aid kit. So firstly, everything that you see here weighs 7.5 ounces. However, most of this stuff is considered multi-use, so it's not just pure first aid stuff. And I'll talk about what's, multi-use and what's not. But starting off, in the left hip pocket, I carry this Light AF first aid pouch made out of Dyneema, so it's waterproof and got a pretty much water resistant, waterproof zipper on there. And inside of there, most of these things get carried. Starting off, got 2 full strips of KT tape, and this is again multi-use, so the more multi-use items you can have, the better, but this can be used to treat muscles or joints. You see athletes with these on all the time, and it can also be used to treat blisters. So you just cut out a little section, put that over the blister, and that'll help with that friction hot spot. But carry 2 full strips of these. This is like the tougher version, so it is waterproof. Wherever you put it on, that's where it'll stay. Carry just a few bandages, so got a big adhesive pad, finger bandage, and a little bandage. Luckily I've never had to use these, but cuts, scrapes, anything like that, different sizes, different places. Just want to have all my bases covered, so carry different sizes. Next up, we got a roll of gauze. This is just still sealed up in its little plastic packaging, but decent size, doesn't hardly weigh anything, takes up a fair amount of space. But carry this because depending on the size, you could then wrap it around something, or if you got like a puncture wound, like you fell on a rock or a stick, you could then stick the gauze down in there to help slow the bleeding. Then to clean and treat wounds, got some hand sanitizer, rubbing alcohol. So this will help disinfect an area first. And honestly, even from like the littlest nick, you're going to be way worse off from any sort of infection versus like having an actual wound, because even a little nick can get infected, but you'd never, bleed out from it or anything like that, or get some weird virus. Don't want to get any of that, so that's what I use the hand sanitizer for and why it's part of my first aid kit. Next up, we just got some Neosporin stuff, so antiseptic and an antibiotic ointment. But come in these little squeezy tubes that you just rip the tops off of. I don't carry like the tube itself just because I don't need it all that often. So, and it'll last longer. But yeah, just a couple of those. Next up, got some bug bite wipes. So, if you got bad reaction to a mosquito bite, bee sting, wasp, or if you did get a tick, something like that, and swelling and itching, all that kind of stuff, got 2 of those. They're single use, but luckily I've never had to use these, but still carry them with me just in case. Again, they're not very heavy. And then with that, a couple of tabs of Benadryl. My allergies aren't super bad. Mostly for me, I just get a very stuffy nose and can't breathe through my nose. But a couple of tabs of Benadryl in conjunction with the bug bite wipes would pretty much have me covered with most bug bites that I might have a bad reaction to. Other pills that I carry, got 4 tabs of ibuprofen sealed in these little rip-off packages, and then got 2 tabs of Tylenol. So I'm not a big believer in ibuprofen or vitamin I. I don't really take it daily or anything like that. I think the body's pretty good at healing itself. However, if I get to a point where things don't want to work anymore, like the muscles in my legs, I could take one of these, and if I'm hurting really bad, I would just take all of these together, kind of make a poor man's Prozac. So I have done that before, and you definitely don't feel anything after you take all of those. However, I don't recommend that because that's really bad for your liver and really rough on it. Definitely don't want to do that too often, so that's pretty much why I only carry a few of that, but if needed be, that is there. And then lastly, just got a few anti-diarrhea pills. I've never had explosive diarrhea while out on trail or uncontrollable diarrhea out on trail, but definitely doesn't sound like a good time or any sort of fun. So picked up some of those, and I just carry 3 of them with me. And yeah, next up, got some dental floss and some thread, and then also a curved needle. So this is good for gear repair, that kind of stuff. But then the needle and the thread is good for blisters. So first off, you want to sanitize the needle. Put some hand sanitizer on there. Take a flame to it. Flame or fire is also an excellent sanitizer. But put that to the needle and then just go through the blister and then just leave the thread on there. Having the thread go through the blister really helps with drainage. So that's why that's on there, and that's why I carry it, and that's why it's part of my first aid. Next up, we just got a couple safety pins. So these could be used for emergency gear repair, or I don't know, just anything else that you could think of. But they don't weigh hardly anything. They don't take up much space, and I figured, you know, what's the harm in carrying 2 safety pins? If I needed to, you know, I could use these with the gauze, you know, to make sure the gauze is nice and secured. Again, if I needed to, I could sanitize the point of the safety needle and then pop a blister that way. But that's what those are for. Next up, we just got mini tweezers, and they have a tick remover on them. Luckily, I've never had to use these, and they just stay in my first aid pouch. But again, you want to sanitize these things. Anytime you pretty much put a foreign object into your body, you want to make sure that it's sanitized, just because you don't want to introduce, you know, an infection again. But instead of the tweezers, what I mostly use is my spring-assisted needle nose pliers. So this has come up in, you know, my last 2 videos. But with this, use the needle to you know, make gear repair, or if I really needed to, could stitch myself up. You get a lot firmer grip with these needle nose pliers than you do with your fingers. You know, you got oil and sweat on your hands, or hopefully not blood, but if there is blood, that needle will be very slippery. So having those needle nose pliers just gets you a sure grip. Again, lighter, like I said, you know, you can use it to sanitize things, such as the needle or the safety pins or the tweezers, but then you can also use this with the knife, you know, sanitize that. But if I really wanted to, I could then heat up the blade a lot, get it real nice and hot, use this to cauterize. But I mean, something like that, it's very, very small. But if something were super deep and I couldn't get it to stop bleeding, you can then use this to cauterize, which doesn't sound like a lot of fun, but if you're in that sort of a situation, you do what you got to do. Next up, we got just a folding razor knife. So this is just different, that, you know, I don't use this pretty much for anything. This is just strictly for first aid, but it could be used to, you know, cut a precise shape out of the KT tape. Could use this to cut up the bandage, or cut up the gauze, you know, if I needed only a certain section. And with something like this, you don't have to worry about, you know, making multiple strikes or anything like that, or multiple cuts, just because it would just zip right through it, just because it's a razor blade and it's razor sharp. The other thing that isn't in frame here is duct tape, and that's on my trekking pole. So duct tape, again, acts pretty similar to this KT tape. It's just a little rougher on the skin. But say you put a band-aid on, you could cut a strip of duct tape off, put it over the band-aid. The band-aid will never come off. Same thing with the gauze. You know, it's good for gear repair. That's everything that I carry with me. So again, everything all together is about 7.5 ounces. Probably just the first aid stuff, probably closer to, I don't know, 2.5 ounces. when she took out like all the multi-use stuff. But so that's not bad for a first aid kit. It is pretty extensive. To me, it covers a wide range of situations. I mean, but granted, you could carry a first aid kit that's, you know, the size of like a paramedic bag and still not have everything covered. But I think the more knowledge that you have, the more you practice, the more you can get away with less. So, you know, I don't carry like a splint kit or anything like that, but I could use my trowel, you know, duct tape that. Or if I broke a finger, I would just duct tape my lighter to my finger, you know, make a splint that way. Or, you know, if it was an arm or a leg, I'd use my trekking pole. Well, maybe not, because I might need that to hike out, especially if it was more of a leg thing. But there's all just, you're only limited to your imagination and how creative you can get again. It's definitely good to like learn these things, but then you can also learn how to adapt the gear that you have to, you know, some emergency situations that are unlikely, but you always want to be prepared for. Anyway, if you liked what you saw, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.